People ask, who is Badger? Why is Badger? But not how is Badger? Who is Badger? But that's what we're here. Hi, I'm Badger.
Oh, hello there. And oh my god, this is bright. I did not think that ring lights were this bright from this side. Okay, that
Yeah, ring lights are nutty.
is much better. And I swear to God, this is not a makeup tutorial, even though I am using a ring light, because I think you can kind of tell. I don't know what this is from. I think it's like a mosquito bite from when I was napping a few hours ago.
Yeah.
My face is not at all symmetrical. You can kind of tell that it looks like I got hit by a shovel on this side of my face really, really hard, like it's being swung by Donald Trump or something. And I mean, I guess I could show you like one makeup tip, like how to put grooming clay in your hair to the point where it looks like you don't have a soul, but that's about the extent of my like makeup cosmetic ability.
That's a mood.
Allow me to start off by saying this is not a makeup tutorial, this is not a how-to guide, this is not an unboxing, this isn't even an apartment tour, because I live in San Francisco, so this is much less of an apartment and
Shark! I see him on the bed.
more of just a room. It's really just a room, because there's the kitchen where I don't cook, there's the desk where I make everything that you see on the internet, there's the bed where I go to sleep by myself, and then I wake up again by myself and continue on whatever it is I was doing, and there's the closet where it looks like you're stepping into a bedroom or something, but it's really just a closet. That's it. One final note I wanted to make, I know this video may trigger a lot of you, and I'm just like you, I have no idea what the word triggered actually means.
I mean, I do, but that's being the unfortunate... moving on from my own personal history, people I've met.
It's a lot like the word literally. It was used so often, so incorrectly by so many different people, it literally does not mean the word literally anymore. Same thing with triggered. I just don't know what that word means because so many people use it in so many different contexts. I'm sorry to the half of you that this video is going to trigger. Because with these types of things, it's always half of you get upset because my face doesn't match my voice, and the other half are like, joyous that you can actually just talk to me like a human being, or at least get talked at like a human being. But beyond being triggered, I wanted to make this video because I get asked so many of the same questions over and over and over again, I figured that it was time to make somewhat of an FAQ. It's not going to be too long, I will not waste any of your time, and I promise that I will get things started off with a bang.
I mean, I will say to the people that were going to get mad because Badger made a video that didn't get bent. I mean, he brings up a good point with words losing their meanings. At the end of the day, if a content creator wants to make something and say they want to do it as a passion project, like they've already said, you know, maybe this isn't going to be the most popular, but I want to do this, and someone goes, oh, bad Badger immersion break, blah, right? Or even a VTuber, right, does an immersion break, but they want to do it, right? Get bent. The creator wanted to do this, Badger wanted to do this, your opinion is therefore irrelevant. Lighter. Wait, that's oh god, it's not lighter. What? No. Oh no. Oh no. No, I think Badger looks exactly like I expected him to sound, honestly.
Yeah, these things don't explode, by the way. The first question I wanted to start off with is, what is your name? Now, my name is Spencer, but that's not the name that I use on the internet, because on the internet, I'm strictly Badger. Anytime I send an email, anytime I sign a contract, anytime I interact with any kind of social media brand ambassador, I'm strictly Badger. Strictly Badger. That's
right, and honestly, I know that for me, when I have to, because if I have to, like, fight a copyright claim, for example, right, if I have to sign anything legally, I use my legal name, but I don't use that on the internet, because if anything, I don't actually like my legal name, and I actually want to distance myself from it. Not gonna go into that here. However, I do understand, like, if Badger wants to go by Badger, if Badger is going to sign himself as Badger, perfectly okay, perfectly acceptable, and in fact, that's awesome. I actually envy that. I love being able to do that.
That's mainly because I like to keep my offline self and my online self divided. Even though they're always going to bleed into each other, I try to keep them separated. And I know it may sound a little bit schizophrenic, but I would just consider Badger to be a very hyper-real, hyperbolic version of myself.
It's not schizophrenic, I would argue, honestly. I feel that it's one of those things that you are setting those divides, right? It's like, for somebody that, say, has had a name change, right, but it hasn't gone through legally, right? You know, say their old name was Spencer, right? Just for argument's sake here, right? And, you know, so legally on documents and stuff, you know, IRS taxes, stuff like that, they have to sign it as Spencer. But say their chosen name is something like, Austin, right? And it's just like, you go to like an SCA meet, or you go to an event, you meet friends, right? They're going to call you Austin, right? I don't think it's schizophrenic by any means. I think that is a social construct that a lot of people are going to throw out there. They're going to be like, oh, well, you're trying to split yourself up into these little boxes, and they're going to see the movie M. Night Shyamalan movie Split or other stuff like that, right, and have a misconception of it. No, I think this is natural. You have your quote-unquote on-air, right, personality, but that's not necessarily saying that you're having split personality or anything like that, honestly. I think Badger is, like, one of the best people to actually answer this, to actually, like, explain this.
Exaggerated. You can call it a persona or a personality, just do not call me an entrepreneur. I cannot stand it when YouTubers say that sometimes, unless you're a Michelle fan where you clearly started your own business. I go to all kinds of events and like sponsorship deals where it's always people introducing themselves as entrepreneurs. It's like, take a step back, okay? Just take a step back. You have a YouTube channel and you sell t-shirts. I don't know if that matches the definition of an entrepreneur.
Honestly, I feel like I feel like Simon Whistler has done it best, where like Simon Whistler had to go to, I think it was China he went to several years ago. I think it was either for vacation or he's doing some work over there. And obviously when you go in, you have to declare like, hey, what is your thing, right? What is your, what do you do for your profession, right? And Simon Whistler's just like, oh God, how do I explain I'm a YouTuber? And he's just like, I'm in marketing. I do advertising work. And that's really all you have to explain.
So just to round out that rambling, my name is Spencer, but you can call me Badger. And you know what? In the corner of the shot right now, I can see. Yeah, you guys can definitely see him. I didn't realize that he was in the shot, but I guess since he's already here, I should introduce him. Oftentimes, people will come over and ask me if I own a shark, and I'd say no, that's not a shark. He has a name. His name's Clarence. So, say hello to Clarence. Conveniently, that leads me into my next question, which is how did I get started with YouTube, and why the Russian Badger? And I started with Battlefield Bad Company 2 on the PS3. Basically, I constantly found myself at the top of the leaderboards, and I'm not saying that in like top of the leaderboards, yeah, Basically, what I saw was that very often I was doing better than other players, and I figured that a lot of other players could, learn how to play the game a little bit better. So I started posting on the internet, hey, this is how you can not suck. I'm not even going to say that I'm some kind of brilliant player, some kind of gift from God with a controller, but I can tell you how to not suck as much as you do now, and I think that would benefit all of us if we all want to win more games. And while I was starting all that, of course I had to pick a name. I had to be some kind of title to the internet, and it took me forever. I remember sitting on PlayStation Network, just like, I have no idea what to name myself. None of this is clever. I can't copy anybody else. Like, what am I gonna do? I remember like pacing around my basement, which is, by the way, significantly larger than this apartment. Like, the balcony is not all. It's like 500 square feet if you include the balcony. That's. Some closets are bigger than that. Sorry, back to the name. So I'm on PlayStation Network, I have to figure out a name, and I eventually just thought to myself, this is extremally tough. I can't come up with a name. What else is extremely tough? And two things came to mind. Russians and badgers. So, there you go. The next question...
Insert your honey badger don't shit meme. Insert that. Yeah, he's on point with that one, though.
The question that I get so often is, what do you do for a living? Like, what's your job? And that's pretty simple to explain. I mean, I could go on some kind of grandiose job title explanation. I work in finance, so really what that means is...
Oh my god, yep, this explains why I relate to a lot of Badger's mannerisms. Oh my god, this makes so much sense now.
Put on a white shirt, and then I walk into the financial district, and I talk on the phone with a bunch of other people that are also wearing white shirts about finance stuff. And then eventually, after I'm done talking to them about finance stuff, I go home, I take off my white shirt, and then I go to sleep. And
he worked big finance. So what I did when I worked at my financial institution, I mean, I was the person that you would call. So you would call in, right? And I would be assisting every single person that called in, whether I had people calling in for balances, whether I had hardcore troubleshooting issues, whether I had certain things like bill payment software and applications and like credit software and applications that weren't working right for them, I would help troubleshoot that. I would intake loans. I would get them all prepped ready for the actual licensed loan officers. I would help private clients when arguably I would argue that I was a little unqualified. I didn't have the qualifications that our big private client department did. I didn't have the qualifications they did. However, I was still helping with assisting with private clients. You know, I was talking through people about HELOCs. I was talking through people about it's not reamortization. There's a thing, PMI, removing PMI from their mortgages, which, oh man, that is a process if you didn't know. Like, so I feel like I worked smaller finance. Badger sounds like he works bigger finance, and he's actually dealing with the back end of things, right? Like, he's dealing with either people in his agency or he's dealing with people at other agencies, and they're trying to facilitate transactions. Probably, if I had to guess, I believe Badger probably was licensed for wire transfers. You know, he probably knew a lot of the back end stuff that I never got to. It's very interesting to just to see similar perspective. As you can't tell, I'm very passionate about the work I did there. I was really good at what I did. Just couldn't do it anymore. This is very fascinating to me.
Rinse, repeat. And I have to say, I love it. I love finance, and I love talking to people, so
yeah,
if I can do that all day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, I love it. It's extremely fun for me. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for everybody. It seems like nowadays, finance is more in structural decline. It's not really what the cool kids are doing anymore, like tech. So if you can get into tech, it seems like that's kind of the place to be. At least that.
Finance is really hard. Like, do I recommend people get into it? A little hard to kind of say that. I will say, at the very least, you should have a functional understanding of how credit works, functional understanding of how finance works. I mean, at the very so I've had to call it, because the institution that I worked at, I actually still do my making with. Actually, when I get paid by YouTube, Twitch, soon Patrons, potentially OF, you know, for the meme, right? So I still have that institution, right? And when I've literally called into the institution, and I've gotten the baby job that I used to do, like when I first started, like they'll answer like, "Hey, this is X, you know, how can I help you today?" I'm like, "Look, this is my name. This is how you're going to get me pulled up and verified. This is my issue. You need to get me this specialist specifically." And they're just like, "How do you?" I'm like, "I used to work there. I know exactly where I need to go. If I had it on my end, I would completely do it. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the back end." And it's just amazing every time I call in, because I know it to a T. It's actually incredibly fascinating.
That's the vibe that I get here in San Francisco. Now, San Francisco is not perfect for all of that. I mean, the housing is pretty damn expensive. Like, I can tell you that if I could cut out of my lease right now and live out of a cardboard box on Market Street, I definitely would. And I'm not even kidding at all. But back to the original question, I work in finance, I wear white shirts, and I talk to people. There's no reason to make it any more glamorous or exaggerated than that.
God, what was the last one?
Oh, that's what it was. The military. That's the other question that I get so often, is asking me about my kind of relationship and experience with the military. And it's actually pretty simple.
Thankfully, I used to live in Cali. Thankfully, I actually left there when I was about 10, I think. I was pretty young when I came to Idaho. My family ended up bringing us here. I never had to deal with... I was in SoCal. I'm trying to not dox myself. I lived in SoCal, and mountain range, if you will. Very, very rural. And it was 2 hours to get to the bottom of the hill and start getting to places, right? You know, I had my parents will talk about LA. I had extended family member talk about their time in California. I believe a family member of mine was actually in the LA police force. With the Manson incidents and stuff like that. There's stuff that allegedly wasn't even sent public side. People who work in the police officer work just don't talk about things, from my understanding. I have family down there. I never got to experience a lot of this, and just the cost of living down there, I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. I will visit Cali again. I don't think I'll live in Cali.
So in college, I was part of the Naval ROTC Marine Corps Scholarship Program. Which basically means they pay for all 4 years of your tuition, and while you're in college, you train with the Marines. Now, keep in mind, this is campus training, so this is you do physical fitness, you learn about Marine Corps tactics, you take naval science and warfare classes, but it's not all that intense. It's not like real Marine Corps type training. And then during the summers, instead of doing internships like the rest of your classmates are doing, you go to certain training camps like Officer Candidate School, which I graduated from in August of 2013, Mountain Warfare School, and
Mountain Warfare, there is a specific section that does that still. It is not widespread. That is cool.
Candidate School is not that hard, but it's not very much fun, okay? It's not fun. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but there's a lot of yelling and a lot of running and not a lot of sleeping and the quickly. They kind of just shove you into this like mud pipe. It's not very fun if you're a 6'4" individual. That can get kind of chunky sometimes, especially when going through mud. But it's kind of fun to look back on. Definitely not that much fun while you're actually doing it. So once you complete your 4 years like I did, you actually commission as a second lieutenant into the Marine Corps. Now, I had kind of a unique situation because, believe it or not, on commissioning day, as I was sitting in my dress blues, I actually decided to voluntarily decline my commission and not become an officer in the Marines, just because of this other investment banking offer that I had, and it's really what I wanted to do with my life instead. Now,
investment banking. So that actually tells me that Badger would be more akin to our... This is not me fishing. I mean, whatever Badger did, whatever NDAs he's under, that's not my intent to break. From what I can theorize is that he definitely dealt with private clients, investment, bigger names. You know, is he necessarily dealing with J.P. Morgan Chase? Is he necessarily dealing with, you know, Rockefeller? Anything like that? You know, who knows? It's honestly not our business. He did the finance I wanted to get into that we didn't have any openings for. He did the big boy finance. I envy you, Badger. You legend.
That's nothing against the Marines. I think the Marines are a tremendous organization. I think they've instilled so many great things into me, but I love finance so much. I love working on YouTube so much. I just did not want to do the military with my life, even though I think I gained so much from the Marines. They're such a tremendous organization. I have so much respect for them. I can't say enough. I can't say enough. So I guess now I have to answer that question because I really brought it up. Should I join the Marines? And here's what I'll say. In my experience with all the different Marines that I dealt with, the very best Marines are the Marines that 100% want to be Marines. Not the guys that want to join the Marines so they can say they're in the Marines. Not the guys that join the Marines so they can wear some kind of snazzy uniform that they think will impress a bunch of women. In my opinion, the very best Marines are 100% dedicated to being Marines and doing that with their lives, which is why I made the decision that I did. I wasn't completely at 100% conviction that I wanted to join the Marines, and I think that was the best decision for me and the Marine Corps. And I think they've instilled some great things in me, and I'm glad that I made the decision that I did.
Based Badger. All I can say on that. Based Badger.
All I'm going to say. On a bit of a lighter note, the Marines is actually kind of hilarious. Just purely the training that I did. Keep in mind, I was never deployed, never active duty, but even just the training that I did, in hindsight, pretty hilarious. Like, there's so many different people that you meet from so many different backgrounds, but you're all trained by these terrifyingly impressive people. Like, the type of guys that looked like they ran the gauntlet of like selection after selection after selection of like terrifying yet brilliant people, and then they train you. It's pretty amazing. Like, the type of guys that are just gigantic yet super agile, just in general, the type of person that looks like he can come up and just snap your forearm with his bare hands or something. That's like a sergeant instructor or a drill instructor in the Marines. And it's kind of hilarious and terrifying. But that's really about it. Thank you for taking the time to peer into my extremely, extremely tiny apartment with a decent view. Okay, bridge.
Small.
Alcatraz, Coit, Chinatown-ish. And we can end with a close-up. I did just want to say thank you very much for watching. I can definitely do this type of video more often if you would like, with much better lighting and better production quality and more dank memes, because that's clearly, triggered. We can go back to triggered if you want. But thank you very much for watching. It really does mean so much to me when you produce things that people consume on the internet at the rate that you guys do. So just thank you for being you and watching this video, and me in general. This is rambling status. I'm just going to cut this off right here. And just, my couch is not at all comfy, by the way. Like, you sit down in it and you immediately feel unwelcome.
Finish this video, I remembered that I have firecrackers in my in my sock drawer. I'm not sure why I keep them there, but I could have actually started this video with a bang. He could have, yes, absolutely. Whoops. Oh my god. I love it. That was awesome. That was awesome. I know I do a lot of Badger React content, and I actually genuinely enjoy Badger React content. And honestly, it was interesting to just see, not that I'm Badger by any means, not that Badger is incredibly successful. Badger is obviously their own person, their own creator, and I absolutely love him and his team and everything that they put out, honestly. You know, he's been on YouTube for a long time. He's got a good... he's got good things going for him. You know, I have an absolute blast. One of these, you know, one day I hope to become big enough that I can at the very least thank the man in person. It was very interesting hearing finance background, not prying into too much of what he did. I mean, I'll say things that I did personally. That is not me trying to dig. That's not me trying to pry. That's not me trying to speculate on what Badger did. As ultimately, you know, NDAs could potentially be involved and ultimately isn't really any of our business. I, at the very least, can say that I can empathize and I can resonate with a lot of what Badger says and explains, and I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for Badger, and they put out just excellent content. Even if people were going to, you know, be quote-unquote triggered, even if people were going to hate this content, he felt like he wanted to make it. You know what? Absolutely. Haters get bent. I think this was absolutely amazing. Thank you, Badger. That was a wonderful self-introduction. Excellent.